go.
Hey everyone, this is Fazri from Lucid Sight, about to come live on the stream. Thanks for joining us today on June 11th. We are here to do kind of a dev update, a little bit about our Star Trek event, a little bit about the CSC universe, and some exciting stuff we want to show you and share that's coming to the CSC universe. So, to begin, let's go live. Alrighty, I'm going to start with just popping in game here. It's going to reduce my music volume a bit. Can you guys hear me now, or is the music still too loud? Volume is a bit low for... Okay, hold on one second. Is that better for mic volume? Can you guys hear me? All right, I'm going to bring Ryan in. Ryan JK is community manager for CSC and works with us closely to help give dev updates. So Ryan, why don't you join us?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
It's going good. Glad to have you today, and I hear you got lots of questions for me, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, we got a bunch from the community posted in Discord.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to going through those with you and getting this going. So to start off with, I just wanted to do a quick update. CSC is currently at our 0.9 state, and we have a couple major milestones we're going to hit in 0.9. And I think the biggest one I want to talk about is persistence. The entire game loop kind of pivots at this point once persistence gets live. What persistence means is users will be able to... one second, looks like we're still a little bit quiet. Ryan, let's see. Can I get you to talk a little bit louder? Or can you talk? There we go.
Yeah, can you guys hear me better?
I think I got your volumes up here. Alright, looks like we're good. Cool. So persistence is basically the next big step here for us in the near-term updates. And as you probably saw the notice already, they rifts entering our universe are destabilizing for a few days. Our plan throughout the next 6 weeks is the rifts will come and go. Each time they come back, something subtle might change. What we're hearing is these rifts are damaging space-time. And as space-time gets damaged, unexpected outcomes can be expected for commanders in our CSC universe. The first of which is going to be an introduction to persistence. So we are going to roll persistence out over the next several weeks, starting first with this next Rift event. In this next Rift event, there will be some potential loss of modules. We're going to modify that percentage as we roll this out. So first week, it might be 90% of modules stay in your ship, 10% are dropped. A few days later, it might be that 90% of modules stay in your ship, 10% are destroyed. And then following after that, 80% of modules stay in your ship, 10% is dropped, 10% is destroyed. We'll slowly move from there, and depending on how well the system's working and issues that we see coming up, eventually we're going to get this to our actual true point of 50%. And with modules similar to other cargo that you currently have in your ships, like ore, when your ship's destroyed, it'll all drop. Modules will all drop. 50% of them will end up in a cargo container. The other 50% will be destroyed forever. So we feel this is going to be a significant change to the game. We're experimenting and testing ways of adjusting this, making safe space a little bit easier to play in, where not all your modules drop, or some of the modules stay on your ship, just so new players and players that are still figuring out the CSC universe have a gradual introduction to this point. But I think loss is a really important factor for the game, and we're looking forward to rolling this out. One big thing that's going to happen with loss is all of a sudden modules, ships are going to modules, and then eventually ships, as we roll out the insurance system and explain how that works in the terms of persistence, we will start seeing quantities of items in the universe go down. So things like a photonic cannon, which there can never be any more and can't be crafted. As ships with those on there get destroyed, if it is part of the 50% that is destroyed, those items will go down over time. This includes all standard weapons and missiles, and what our expectation is, especially as we introduce new areas in Fringe for you guys to tackle NPCs and farm out some great rewards. There's going to be a significant amount of modules removed from the game universe. As these are removed, this is a great opportunity for you early commanders who've set up manufacturing and have started creating these modules to start creating a pipeline and workflow to create modules and deliver them to trading hubs across the CSC universe so players can replenish their supplies. So this will be a very exciting few weeks for us as we start really seeing this really seeing the closed loop of our in-game economy. So instead of just talking to you guys here, I'd love this to be a little bit more conversation here with Ryan. So as I discuss aspects of CSC and features and things coming up, I'm also going to just kick it off to Ryan. We'll go through a couple of questions and see if he has any questions he'd like me to answer as well. So before I do that, first I want to make a big shout out to Joe G Flip. He found the first skin at all in the game. So there are actually several skins available as loot drops and low chance loot drops in certain ships. And the one I'm sporting right now in our dev build is the one he found, Yuri's Vengeance. And we dropped a little bit of lore for those interested for Yuri's Vengeance on who Yuri is, his role in the Reaper Corporation, and he's actually part of one of the larger stories that we have to release lore-wise later in a few weeks here, actually, I think. So, Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, and I got a lot of questions from commanders that were inquiring about a variety of things. One of the things that people have been wondering about the most coming up is the stacking penalty that we've talked about before. They're wondering if that's still coming and when they can expect it.
Yeah, actually, stacking penalty is something we're discussing and talking about almost on a daily basis here internally. And we even just did a test this morning with all our devs and staff where we just did a fun battle royale battle between the company to see how that plays out. And one of the nice things about doing this, getting everyone on, especially our game designers and our engineers have been working on this game for years, is they know all the tricks and the trade secrets of the game, and utilizing multiple of the same modules stack can create very difficult builds to take out, especially in a PvP scenario. So the stacking penalties, I think, are a core way of tackling this, and we are expecting that to go live in one of the updates in the next few weeks. So we will announce when it's coming live, and basically what you'll end up seeing is using modules of the exact same item ID. So the exact same type module will have less of a benefit as you go past one. So the first one will give you 100% benefit, the second one might give you 50%, third one 25%, fourth one 12.5%, so on and so forth. That way, one, we're encouraging commanders to use a variety of modules. So if you do want to have additional benefit, you're going to have to stack maybe one 4x4, one 3x3 of different types, and then you're going to start seeing more of a benefit. What we're currently debating and experimenting with on the dev side is that even enough? Is letting you stack 12 different shield types still too much of an advantage, or creates a scenario where a player can be nearly invincible in a PvP or NPC scenario? So that's the delay in terms of releasing that balance element. And also there's some other things we're doing right now to streamline the new game experience and expand upon the story content and the item progression players see when they start the game. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But good question there.
Just a clarifying question on this from the chat. Only Toasted wanted to know if this involves different tiers. That's
Different
in the tech
tiers.
level. Yeah. So from my understanding, for if you had a T1 double R1 shield and a T2 double R1 shield, they wouldn't conflict with the stacking penalty.
Correct. They would not conflict. So the tier, when you have a different tier weapon, a higher tech level weapon, it has a different item ID. So you could stack a T1, T2, T3, T4, T5, T12 eventually when we get there. But yes, they will not conform to the stacking penalty.
Okay.
It looks like right now we have 74 people watching in D Live and 15 on Twitch. So hi everyone, thanks for joining us today.
So with the talk of persistence during a rollout in the next few weeks, the other big thing that we touch on every QA is the insurance.
Yes.
I know we mentioned it in previous QAs, and one of the things that questions still coming up is if there's been any further confirmation on how insurance will work in regards to fringe space.
So this is something that we have been running for the last several weeks on our dev environments. So as our QA and staff have been playing, we've been playing with full insurance live and full persistence, full item loss, unless you have your ship insured. Well, ship loss is the only thing you can protect. Items are basically always lost as they're destroyed. And a couple things have come up that we want to tackle, and we're planning to roll this out in parallel to the persistence rollout. One is how to handle core space. So core space is supposed to give players an opportunity to play in a safe and controlled manner. And even though PvP is impossible in a system like Sol right now, NPCs are still destroying new players coming in. So one thing we need to do is either provide new players with better equipment so they could stand up to base level NPCs so there's less risk of destruction, and then insurance and persistence in the way we currently have it would work completely fine. The other option is creating a different set of rules for insurance when you're in core space versus fringe space. This would entail in core space when your ship's destroyed, maybe there's some base level insurance, everyone just gets their ship back. This is something I'm not a fan of and I kind of want to stay away from, and this is a discussion we're having with the design team, because I really feel the true core to this game, similar to Eve and other games of this type, is if your ship's lost, regardless if it's safe space, low security, high security, core space, fringe space, your ship is lost. At that point, you're going to need to replace that ship either by mining more and constructing one or buying a cheap ship off the market. So we're probably going to lean towards something similar to what we've discussed in the past of insurance, where there is a 4-tier system of insurance. The highest tier is similar to FF, but the lower tiers will provide you either the GRP for the fair market value of the ship, or components where you could craft the ship, or you could resell those components and try to get a smaller ship, or sell the components for GRP to get a different ship. That's primarily how insurance is going to work, but we will have a comprehensive in-game post and blog post to cover that as we're rolling it out, and it will roll out in phases similar to how we're going to do the persistence rollout next week. Right now, I've just popped open my cover screen here. I was going to switch over to another ship while we continue to talk. But Ryan, go ahead and do one more question while I get this ready.
Let's talk about some of the newer systems that might be coming out. Hades wants to know how new star systems are going to be generated, and when can we expect more star systems?
Perfect. Great question. We actually have star systems, new ones, in queue for our next several milestones. 1 second here while I undock. So new star systems are generated just like our old star systems. It's a little bit procedural, a little bit design work. So one of the big things we're doing right now is we're touching up some of the current star systems that have basic skyboxes, and the planets are all that duplicate of the same planet. So we will be slowly rolling out updates to those. Once we have all these star systems addressed, where they have a unique look, they have unique planets, and there are more general spawn points, more than what we currently have, so giving players a location where they could farm a particular type of resource or look for a particular type of equipment. At that point, we're going to start releasing new systems 10 and 15 at a time on one of our weekly updates.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to share. So I just wanted to show another skin here. So we've talked about skins before in the game, and I think we've come to the point where skins will be coming out in one of our weekly updates in the next coming weeks. But this is one of the skins, one of my favorite skins for the Harvester. It gives it kind of a white knight type of look. Shining blue makes it really stand out. For example, this is a test system. As you see, it's Lucid Estates that we do a lot of our testing on the dev environment. But it has great contrast and just looks really sharp. So I'm going to go through a few skins here as Ryan continues his question, and then we'll get to some other items we want to discuss.
Oh, well, since we have the harvester out, let's talk about some hidden mining fields. Tyrannus was wondering when hidden fields will be added to more star systems, and when we can expect further development of exploration in the game.
Yes, great question. So they actually tie together hand in hand. So hidden fields are resources, or not resources, are asteroid belts that have no resource beacon. So for players that are new to the game who have never seen this before, asteroid belts in our game usually have a resource beacon that helps you identify it on the system map. There are a handful of hidden belts across the game, and part of the exploration system that we'll be implementing, it's going to be a new mission type, is it causes belts and locations to instance whenever a new mission is available. For example, if someone sees a mission in Sol System that says, oh, go to this coordinate, right now you'll go there and the NPCs will spawn. What's going to change is you'll go to this coordinate, and instead of NPCs just spawning out of nowhere, you're going to have an asteroid belt or some wreckage or a drone nest or a pirate's den and some environmental assets around it. When for the time period that mission's available, be it 8 hours, 12 hours, a few days, that location will be mineable. It might have some secret resources. It might have some hidden items. And we're going to use a similar method to that for these hidden belts. So missions will help you discover where these hidden belts are. And then you'll have an approximate time frame of how long they'll exist. So they're not going to persist forever like some of the hidden belts that we currently have. And during that time frame, the idea would be, well, one, you want to get that mission and complete it and reap that reward. Two, you want to be able to capitalize while that mission's going on. And I think we just hit 100 viewers across all our media channels, so congrats. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. I hope that answers the question there, Ryan. Let me know if I need to elaborate further.
No, I think we hit on it pretty good. That's pretty cool. I never thought about having temporary hidden fields like that, especially tied into the mission system.
Yeah, this comes back to something I've been talking about Discord a lot, is like we've added a lot to the game, but we've kept things hidden spawn points, hidden drone nests, hidden areas where NPCs will pop up. But the problem is, space is big. Even CSE, which is not true 1-to-1 scale, we've done our best to gamify it. It's still really hard to find these. So this kind of all ties back to our mission and assignment system. We want to start feeding information to players that give hints and directions to where some of these items are. And then it's still going to be up to you guys to share that and disseminate that information. If someone finds a random mission Jupiter station that all of a sudden leads them to an instanced area where there's a bunch of asteroids or containers that they could deconstruct, or other items they could find, it's up to them to let their friends know, let the community know, let their clan members know. It's completely the user choice. So I got another skin here. So this skin I think I've shown a video of, but I've never actually shown in game so far. This is one of my favorite Voyager skins. It's a digital skin. It's the only animated skin we currently have now. But as you play with the skin, you'll see that you have computer-like code that just streaks up and down the full black body on the ship. It's actually pretty cool. This is going to be one of the rarest skins in the game, so similar to Yuri's, it'll be a low drop rate, and you'll find it either through some very rare spawn missions or through drop rates of certain types of NPCs. And this is something else we're trying to figure out what's the best way to communicate to you guys which NPCs provide what, instead of straight telling you, wrapping this into lore and hints in the game.
Nice. Since we're on the topic of missions, I have a mission-related question from you,
Yeah.
Ryu the Dark of the Gorn Hegemony. He wanted to know how many different NPC factions we will have giving out mission lines at full launch with 1.0.
Absolutely. Well, actually, this would be a good time for me to show you one other thing. So I'm going to switch scenes here real quick. I'm going to show you a concept of our new galaxy map. So you should be seeing right now our new galaxy map. It's still 3D. You'd be able to tilt and turn this, and everything will recenter and focus on. And you'll notice that there's flags on certain systems. Those flags represent 4 of the main factions that we'll have in the game very soon. This is a big part of the assignment missions that you're going to get and what you're going to see coming through. And these factions are separate from the GFI, the Galactic Federation. And they all form FSC, Free Space Coalition. There is a mining faction, a trade faction, a more technology-focused faction, and then our pirate faction that you've probably seen in several missions so far. A lot of detail coming out to this, but you'll be able to know which systems are controlled by who and what they provide. This is just a mock-up and a representation. Those systems aren't actually controlled by the factions, so don't go and think any of that. Majority of the systems at the start of the game will be controlled by GFI, but a big part of what our Season 1 event's going to be, Expansion Wars, is a fight for GFI and other FSC factions to claim territory within the game.
That's very cool. Very cool.
All right, go back to my game here. All right. Go ahead and go for a next question while I queue up the next ship. Yeah.
Let's jump into a different feature that we've all been waiting on for a while. It's a post 1.0 feature, fleet control.
Yes.
This question's from Nabanid from Empire. He kind of just wants to know what the vision is for fleet control and like how much control we will have over them. Like, will we have to manually control each ship, or will they be automated while mining? Just the general gist.
Sure.
Of it.
So yeah, fleet control is a post 1.0 feature, and the idea for that is through a module add-on to your ship, you'll be able to command, well, both the module add-on and providing crew to another ship. You'll be able to command up to 3 ships is currently our vision. So if you're out mining, you would be able to switch your UI. Imagine, like right here, I'm actually showing one of I think one of my favorite destroyer skins. It's called Golden Destruction. It's a burnt gold skin that could go on any destroyer class ship. Imagine you have a fleet of destroyers, or let's say 2 destroyers and a harvester. In fleet control, you'd be commanding one ship, the other 2 will form into a formation and follow you. You head over to an asteroid belt, you'd switch from the one ship that you're controlling to, let's say, your harvester. You could start mining on certain asteroids. At that point, you could switch it back to one of the destroyers and fight off NPCs or do a little local exploring. Once you get out of a certain control radius, the ship will stop its activity and come to you. Areas that we're still designing and conceptualizing is like, let's say in mining, if you target one asteroid and you put it on there, it'll probably be done within a minute or 2. Well, that's not really good enough time. You don't want to keep flipping over to the ship. So the thought was, well, maybe it goes through your entire target list. So you switch over your ship and target 10 asteroids. And then as long as you're within range, it will maneuver and continue mining those, collecting resources. I kind of don't want to go too far into this feature, mainly because it is post 1.0 and we got a lot of stuff on slate to deliver, optimize, and improve before we get there. But that's the general concept of what we're looking to do.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. Let me see what else we got here. See if we got anything in chat.
I'm gonna have a little bit of fun here while we're waiting. Since everyone's been taking out those destroyers that dropped the Yuri, I'll see if I can get a few to join me here. And let's have a little fun. Go ahead.
We did have one quick clarification question regarding insurance. Some players want to know if there will ever be a case where you can lose your ship regardless of insurance in fringe space.
No. No. If you have the top tier insurance, there is currently right now no plan to have permanent destruction if you have insurance on there. there has been some talks about doing things like anomalies or space that's even more dangerous than Fringe, but this is well past
Mhm.
1.0. I think it's going to be risky enough going into Fringe, and the insurance is going to be premium enough where it really needs to be a decision that you need to make. It's probably more cost effective not to put insurance on some ships and just run hot, run with a cloak, be ready to just pop out of there when enemies approach.
Yeah, yeah. Um, what we have? What'd you have? What'd you spawn here? More
So
destroyers.
the Revenant MK1s, these are the
Mm.
ones that actually drop the Yuri skin. I am, cheating on our dev side here. I'm running Tech 4 uh, weaponry, the Solar Storms, and they're just tearing right through his shields and armor. It's satisfying destruction.
So with the destruction, Axe also had a question on the mod loss. I believe with when mod loss is implemented, that it's going to be random, correct? So if you
Correct.
have
Yes.
100 mods equipped, it'll just be 50 random mods.
Exactly. So it'll be
Yeah.
50 randomly equipped mods that you currently have. So I am actually going to use this time as we're doing a question just to show you the whale. It's been a while since I've shown the whale. It's something coming in recent in very near term updates. It's pretty much ready. We've been playing with it. We're just fixing up some of the animations and cleaning it up a bit. It should be ready to go.
Cool.
There we
Okay.
go. So this whale is improved from what you've seen before. It actually has its own attack abilities. This is a test whale, so it has like 10 HP, and I'd kill it in one shot, and it could do almost no damage to me. But just wanted to swing by and give you guys an idea of its scale, size, and should probably do a couple of its attack animations on me here, as it's getting a little too close for comfort. Oh man, it has some amazing sound effects. I don't know if I'm actually transmitting the game sound at the moment. Ooh, yeah,
Oh, is that like a tail whip attack?
it's a tail whip attack. The creatures have some physical attacks that you normally don't see. Ooh, and there is its plasma breath attack. Uh, it is definitely coming at me here. Oop. Yeah, a whopping 10 damage right now. This is going to be actually a pretty insane attack when we actually release the whales in and we get these ready to go. You're gonna. This is a boss level creature close to the Borg cube. It's not going to be easy to kill at all, and it does a lot of area of effect damage. So you
Oh,
definitely want
that's
to be
cool.
careful. I'm just gonna kill it here real quick. One of the coolest things with the creatures is each one of them has their own death animation sequence, which
Oh,
is pretty neat. And we have 5 different creatures coming into the game. The whale's just one that we've shown, but there's several others that look pretty awesome. And I'll share more of those in future streams. So I want to give a little example of that.
so let's jump over to, we got a couple questions more revolving around the economy
Hmm.
from Chuck and Dark Horizon. He wants to know if when we can expect to see item specific data and analytics, how
Yeah.
long off, essentially API is
Yeah,
what he wants to know.
this is something me and you were just talking about before the stream because it's hard to track progress and what exists in the universe if you can't look back at historical data and see, well, how many of this was destroyed and what the rate is. Good news is all that data has continued to be collected for as long as we've been running the game and we've had these items coming in. We have ways on our own end, on the dev side, to expose that into graphs, charts, and export into CVS. We're just working on what the UI implementation of that will be in client and then what an external API would look like. So there's base
Mm-hmm.
things we need to do like rate limiting and making sure no one can just hit that API so hard it completely crashes the game. And one
Mm-hmm.
thing we've tackled a lot with lately is hack prevention, hack detection, and there's still more work we're doing on that. So we have a list of priorities coming up. Mainly game stability is at the top of the list. After that is content for players to make sure that progression makes sense and is doable. And then right after that, it's providing more transparency in the data, a public API. It's pretty much ready to go, but just needs a little bit more time for us to harden and make sure no one can just hammer that API a ton and burn down the game. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
While we are going to the next question, I think I will show you this ship right here. So this ship is, if anyone's followed me on Twitter and listened, seen a little bit of the story I've been talking about, this is done by the AIM Corporation, or not AIM Corporations. Basically, AIM is an association of independent merchants. It's one of the factions in the game that you will find in far core space and fringe space. And this is a faction that's primarily, as their name suggests, are merchant traders. So this ship is actually a trade vessel for them. It's currently unnamed, but it is the first AIM ship that you're going to actually see. And if you notice its color scheme, you might realize that there are some FSC NPCs that share this color scheme currently in the game at certain spawn points. Or maybe not if you haven't come across this spawn point. So again, FSCs are Free Space Coalition, and it's a conglomeration of 4 other factions that work together in opposition of GFI. Not necessarily adversarial, just different political interests. So let's just take a look at this first ship. These ships are massive. They are dreadnought size, so they're the next dreadnoughts that are available in the game. They will be difficult to craft, just like the current dreadnought, and the blueprints will be exceedingly rare. What we're trying to do for rare drops like this is not only is there farming as an option, which is the harder option, we want to create some mission paths, some side quest missions, some secret missions, all tied to how our GFI ranking system works and assignments, where if a user discovers it, they could go down this path of missions where the reward might be a couple blueprints for this this ship. The key thing we're working out as we're doing all this is we want to limit the amount of botting that could potentially happen. So if we created a mission where if you just had to complete that mission with no prerequisites or no rank, users will just create hundreds of accounts, get all the blueprints, and then that would ruin the fun and excitement for everyone else. So whenever we do missions of substance with valuable items like this, we're always going to do it. There we go. We're always going to do it in a way where there's a certain amount of game time and play time and rank that you get to reach before that mission even becomes available. So a big part of like how we're looking at our content release strategy is based upon preventing botting and preventing abuse of the game systems and ensuring like the integrity and value of the items. For example, the Yuri skin that just dropped, extremely rare drop. We actually thought this would drop sooner, but this is when we realized a lot of the spawn points, the secret points, the ones that aren't mapped, that are almost impossible to find, haven't been utilized. And that's areas where a user can go and then farm for a couple hours to find this item. The mission versions of those ships have a much lower drop rate than the farming points, because there's some level of grind for reward that we do want to have in this game.
So there's hidden spawn points out there now that can be found?
Yeah, I'm going to say can be found, but likely to be found, no.
Likely found, no.
Yeah, okay. Their radiuses are tiny. They don't have, if you've noticed currently, all our new spawn points tend to have at least some item to indicate you're at the point. So either a drone nest or wreckage of a ship. We're going to be expanding that as we expand our spawn points out. And then we're going to try to change the way the drop logic works. So instead of destroy 10,000 of the ship for one chance of getting it, we'll do the drop logic as, all right, you see 100 of these ships, but one of them has a slightly different name. That one that has that slightly different name, maybe a letter or a number at the end, that one has a 50% chance of drop, but it might only show 1 out of 100 times.
So basically like rare spawns.
Exactly. So rare spawns that have more of a guaranteed drop.
Yeah.
So this is this bad boy right here is going to be one of our transportation dreads. So its main focus is going to be hauling cargo around the universe. It's going to be slow. It's not going to be well armed. It's not going to be able to tackle a battle like the current dreadnought we have, Sigmas. But what it will be able to do is move vast amounts of cargo or resources, modules. Our expectation, especially as persistence kicks in and the gameplay base increases, is there will will be more need for modules and components in local and fringe space, especially as you start leaving outside the jump gate network. Travel's hard in CSC. It can take hours. Last thing you want to do is have to jump back to get one part. Instead, you want to count on players that can come and deliver those items to you, or bring large quantity of those items to far off locations. And we'll talk about that with the Expansion Wars season after we showcase one more ship here.
Let me see what else we have for questions here. So another big feature post 1.0 that everyone's looking forward to is the construction of player-owned stations.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing, everyone knows those are a bit off, but what there's already people stockpiling ore and components for that. So, do we have a general ballpark of how much ore or how much crafting time will be required to build a player-owned station?
This actually ties directly into our Season 1 Expansion Wars, so remind me this question when we start talking about it, because Expansion Wars is going to be the first time the players as a community get to decide where this next station gets built and for which faction. And that example of the resources required is going to be our baseline to determine what the final construction costs for a player-owned station is going to be.
Oh, interesting. What else do we have here? Just another quick clarification question on insurance. Insurance will be purchasable in both GRP and GFC. You always have both options?
Correct, yes. GRP and GFC, there will be some insurance that will only be for GFC. This would be the premium level insurance, but the base level insurance and insurance that will give you at least the value of that ship back can be purchased for GRP.
Okay.
That actually brings me to another point that we've been discussing quite a lot, is GRP sinks in the game. Like, what do you use all this GRP you're collecting for? And I think we've talked about this before, but just to be very clear, the end goal for GRP is to buy technology from GFI. So GFI might have a new skin or a new blueprint. Large quantities of GRP will be consumed getting that technology from GFI in a limited fashion. It won't be thousands available for sale, but there might be one that pops up on sale in a fringe station or a far off core station that will be available for the first commander that goes picks it up.
One more thing on insurance. Crypto Mover wants to know, does the insurance have to be purchased before you're blown up, or can you purchase it after the fact?
Before you're blown up. Nice question, though. No, this is part of the reason we haven't rolled insurance out just yet. Even though we have it functional on our dev side and we've been play testing with it, there's even been times when we've been playing we'd forgotten to buy insurance for a ship, and then we lose it on our dev systems. And in dev we could just spawn it right back. It's not a big deal. So we want to make sure there's enough warnings for the player. Pop-ups and dialogues. If you're undocking with a valuable ship and you don't have insurance, like, hey, real quick, know what you're about to do. Or if you're jumping into a system or FTLing to a system where PvP is enabled, a warning. If you're leaving from core space into fringe space where basically anything could happen, again, another warning. So these warnings and indicators are kind of key to us because we want to make sure players have a good experience. But you know what? In the end, I would just be very honest, it will be frustrating. People are going to be unhappy when their ships get blown up. $100 ships, $1,000 ships might end up being lost. No, probably will end up being lost. This happens in EVE. I remember the first time I had spent weeks saving up for a large cargo hauler, and my first run just got popped. How frustrating that was. But also I remember that determination that made me. It's like, all right, I could do this again. This time I'll do it better. The beauty of CSE and like where we really stand out, where we differentiate between these other games is the distributed nature of our economy in the game. Players have true control over the assets. You have the option of buying this from another player. You as a player, you come in and help your friend or help other players by creating items and distributing to them. That's what's really exciting about it.
Yeah, since we're actually let's shift over to the ship you have out now because this is one of my favorite ships I've seen.
So this is a Phoenix ship. It's a logistical deep space vessel. So it's not pure cargo. It's designed more for ships and personnel, but it's meant to help do fringe missions by providing a base of logistics. Now, what that means exactly is still a little bit flexible. We're working on a pretty cool feature that could potentially allow players to dock onto the ship while it's in space, basically making it like a mobile station where you could then initiate repair and do some limited activities like refitting and changing your loadouts. So that's the goal for this ship. All those features aren't there yet. Initial release of the ship might just be the ship with hangar bays for transporting ships and moving personnel. But the vision here is it's a logistical support vessel. This actually might be one of the harder ships to craft, probably a more valuable ship because of that role. But right now the first Sigma battlecruiser is a very difficult ship to craft. So I'm looking forward to seeing the first one come out, created by a player. And these, it might be a while before we see them live in game outside of NPCs.
Okay. Yeah, I expect the ships like this to be a prime target for guilds out there. They're going to be pushing, have these in the support for the battlefields and everything out deep in Fringe.
Yeah. It's going to be exciting out there in Fringe.
Exciting and terrifying.
Well, that's half the fun. Like, really, this is where persistence is really important. I'm really excited to get that in there because so far we've all been able to play and have a great time, but there hasn't been that true level of loss. And I guarantee you there's going to be frustration. I know our support team's not looking forward to the tickets coming in about their ships being destroyed. So we're trying to make sure we tackle a lot of the core issues first. We have a whole new wave of anti-hack and anti-cheat updates coming next week. These will basically close the loop and make us pretty much cover everything we know is currently possible in the game, helps us identify who they are and auto ban them when these incidents occur, and balance the playing field for all players. So that will be exciting. Once we have that locked down, then we feel comfortable. Let's start introducing some persistence, then we'll start including some ship destruction, and then once we have persistence and ship destruction, that's really where we've kind of held back on kind of opening the floodgates into Fringe and other systems in terms of resources and quantities. You will see more resources and more rare resources in Fringe systems once there is a definite, like, this is a challenge to get there. It should be mining operations, multiple players working together to successfully mine in Fringe. It shouldn't be able to be done by one player in a ship that either spoofs the NPCs or just is able to uber tank damage.
Yeah, that kind of leads into a question about mining beams, because right now in the current mining meta, the thermal algod just rules supreme. Everyone's using the thermal algods everywhere.
Correct.
So some of our crafters that are creating some of the larger beams like the Galamide Pulse Miner, the Binary Graviton, or the Vulcan Cascade, they want to know if there's going to be, if they can expect a rebalancing of those beams, or if they're going to become a lot more useful when more systems are released, which kind of seems like the case from what you just said, that once we get more systems, the disparity in ore quantity and quality is going to be a lot greater, making those higher yield mining beams more relevant.
Correct. Yeah, it's going to be more. It's going to be a challenge in terms of storage. Really, the expectation with those higher yield mining beams is one person is just draining asteroids, ones that might have hundreds or 200,000 in quantity, and other players are playing the support role, picking those items up, transporting them to a larger ship, or transporting them to a nearby station. So basically, you're draining it out, and you have basically enough cargo capacity to hold a little bit of it, jettison some, and get other players to come ferry it away for you. It's going to be a mix of a little bit of rebalance on those beams to make sure their value proposition is correct, their use case makes sense, and also it's about increasing the quantity. And we saw a little bit of this when we did some of the heavy concentration points. Like, you should see mass quantities of ore in these asteroids, and most of it should be junk. Beam specializations, beams that are able to pull specific ones, should be more valuable. There's a trilite extractor beam that if an asteroid has trilite in it, and they might have 100 tons or 100,000 tons of iron on top of it, that trilite extractor beam should be able to pull that trilite out first without going through those hundreds of thousands of tons, but it's a small quantity. Now, let's use the example. Let's say if there's 50,000 tons of trilite in an asteroid that has 1 million tons of ore. That trilite extractor beam is going to be very ineffective at getting that. You might be better off just blasting through that with a larger, higher yield beam to get all that overburden off first, collect the resources, and dump the overburden out in space, or have another user carry that away. Or you're looking for a higher tech level of an extractor beam to pull more of that quantity out.
Interesting. Yeah, the extractor beams and the other specialized beams, they're definitely, whenever you find a good field, they definitely help a lot, because having to dump all that ore over and over again that you don't want is a real pain.
Yeah, that's another thing we're talking about, is doing a jettison destroy. So instead of dumping the ore out into a container, giving the user's ability to just basically jettison and nuke an item in one sweep. So just like, okay, here's junk ore, really don't want to carry this, don't want to leave a bunch of containers, just destroy this item. It's something we're looking into. Also, we're looking into better management of containers in space. So right now, when you drop an item, you drop one item per container. We're going to make containers reusable. As long as it exists and it's there, you can move multiple items in there through the UI in the game. So you could use one container and just fill that up with as much cargo as you want, up to some capacity limit. We're at 105 total, I think, right now. So thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. This is great. Hope you're enjoying the stream and getting some good info. So I think now that I've kind of gone through a couple of the ships I wanted to show, next thing I wanted to touch base on was the Expansion Wars. So this is our first big season. So we're calling this Season 1 of CSC. Expansion Wars is going to be kicking off here in a few weeks, and what Expansion Wars is going to be made up of is a big introduction to the lore of the CSC universe. GFI, the Galactic Federation that you all are familiar with, is now trying to move into a new fringe system, and this fringe system is being contested by the FSC. And so what you're going to find is you're going to find a non-completed station out in this system, and in this non-completed station you will have to bring colonists, workers, soldiers. You'll have to bring tons of ore and other resources like consumables, food, to help complete the station. But that's one objective. And you could choose to help complete the station for GFI, or you could find one of the secret pirate stations or one of the other FSC stations in that system and take missions on from them that sabotage this operation. And based on mission completion, resource delivery, we're going to continually run a counter of who is winning this event. And this event will run several weeks, and there'll be several milestones in this season where users will come together for global events. But the end result will determine who controls that system. The player can contribute to both sides, but the side that wins will get a specific benefit. A player that has a larger percentage of contribution to one side versus another will get a special reward at the end of the event. So, for example, if you decide to play both sides and be a double agent, do a bunch of pirate faction missions, a bunch of AIM missions, and then still deliver a bunch of resources, you're not necessarily going to end up with a bonus for both sides. There's going to need to be a statistically significant amount of work you did for one side versus the other to get that reward.
So your loyalty will be rewarded.
Your loyalty will be rewarded, and also once that system changes ownership, there will be some perks that are associated with that as well. So this first event and all the submissions that will be part of it, and the construction of the station is going to kind of lay the framework for player-owned stations. So you'll start seeing the quantity of resources you need to bring over, how they need to be delivered, the personnel that you're going to need to bring over, and what that criteria is going to be to complete a station. Station completion, or creating a station in the game, is going to be done through a station charter. A station charter gives you permission to deploy a station. There'll be either some in-game UI or done some or communication with us, the developers, on where you would like to deploy the framework of the station, and then at that point missions are generated. But you as the player or you as the guild need to provide the reward and incentive. So you could just do the missions yourselves and try to bring all the resources there, but if you're not putting a reward, you might not get help from the rest of the player base. And you might not need it. You might just be like, hey, we're good on our own, we can come up with the trillion tons of iron we need. That might be the choice.
That'll be interesting to see which guilds kind of do everything on their own, and if anyone actually opens up to the whole player base.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to touch on actually is the uh, concurrent player issue we've seen recently in EQ and solutions we've found from it. So current setup should be able to handle more than, I think we saw issues around 70 to 100 plus concurrent players in close vicinity or within a system, and we've done a lot of testing trying to identify where the issues are. I'm happy to say we've found from our last update, which improved the situation quite a bit through some client changes, we found some server problems and optimizations that we could address that should solve this pretty well. So these are things that we're hoping to come out next week before the next large-scale Borg invasion into the CSC universe. So it'll be a great another test bed to see, one, the stability of both the client and our server, and your ability to interact with multiple players at once. So this will be we thank everyone who participated in day one of that last event. I know there was a few glitches here and there when it came to large-scale engagements. It's much improved now, but it's only going to get better. We're seeing that same client freeze and crash issue. We've identified where that problem is. We're on it. We'll get that taken care of. And we look forward to scaling this up even more as we get more users in.
And that includes the issue where people weren't seeing each other in EQ Pegasi, right?
Correct. Basically both related. One was the client would freeze up trying to load players in. Two was the server would freeze up due to the similar issue. And all related to NPC load and for concurrent players.
We have basically everything we have left now. We have 3 questions left. We kind of have 2 questions about ore scanners. Eskimo wants to know if there's any planned changes coming to ore scanners. Then we have a question in chat from Spaceballs 3000. He wants to know if we're going to be seeing any more specialized extractors or scanners specifically related to iridium.
Yeah, absolutely specialized scanners. This is something we've already have in works and testing on dev. You'll see them being introduced either through the Series 3 crate or some event and mission drops. The main goal right now is providing a path of content, so new players coming in quickly hit a wall on their ability to scale and move forward in the game. So those are the first things you'll see. You'll see GFI rank missions that'll take you from level 10 to level 20 or level 20 to level 30. And at the end of those, we're going to be introducing or giving those players larger SE vessels that will make them more competitive and be able to complete more objectives in the game. As we complete those out, you'll start noticing the missions and the side quest missions will have rewards like blueprints for any types of scanners, the scanners themselves, and a lot of mining specific updates. We did make a recent update where we increased the quantity of common ore that's required for a lot of recipes, just to make sure that there was more incentive for newer players coming in to be able to mine some iron and trade it for some value to continue upgrading. And it seemed disproportionate the amount of common ore that was currently used in the game. Not enough of it was needed or used as we would expect versus some of the rarer ore.
And so related to that, with the common ore change that we did recently, Crypto Mover and a few other people were interested in this as well, in regards to refining modules. Since they're all pretty similar now, we've talked about it before. They just want to know like the general thoughts on how we can expect refining modules to be differentiated, since we do have so many of them right now.
Yeah, we have lots of them. Players have been doing a great job of like finding higher tech level versions of it. So this is on cue for one of our sprints to balance those modules out in terms of quality and rarity. They were kind of all released as a baseline level. They were incrementally better here or there. This is just going to be making their benefits more apparent, including their benefits in their descriptions. For example, this might be a basic sluice, this might be an advanced sluice, this might be an epic sluice, so it's easier for players to tell which ones are better to use. Don't have a hard date. It's on my milestone list here, but I can't find you exactly when, but it is on cue for sprints we have coming up for CSC development.
And I think when we talked about this before too, there was mention of the manufacturers and how those will have essentially quality levels. Like some of them will be like kind of the low end refining mods, and some of them will be higher end.
Yeah. This is for the manufacturing end, not the workshop end, correct?
Uh, um,
I mean,
I was
what you were just referring to.
no, for like just the refining mods and how the way
Oh yeah,
you can
yeah.
kind of expect them to be like higher quality from certain manufacturers.
Correct. I thought basically we had talked about last time, still in Slate here, is basically bringing some of those refining mods or basically workshop mods into manufacturing as well to provide reduction in time and improved speed. This kind of goes into a longer term roadmap that we currently have laid out, which includes the introduction for ability for manufacturers to reduce the build time for a lot of the top tier items. For example, ships. Ships could take quite a long time to manufacture currently. So we want to give a path for players really specializing in manufacturing for ways to reduce that. And we'll talk about that in future streams, but we have almost something similar to a skill system in Q. One thing I do want to talk about, as it's tied to the mission updates, adding instance missions and discovery missions, is commodity market trading in CSC. So this is an aspect of the game that I'm a big fan of. It's one of the things I love doing in EVE, love doing in Elite Dangerous, is finding NPC resources for one price in one system, moving them to another price in another system for some type of gain or profit. This is really going to be tied into organic harvesting. Organic harvesting is going to be a primary use case to one, get biohexium gas, but also the different fruits and different resources you end up harvesting from either creatures or asteroid plants will be used to create a lot of the foodstuffs in the game. Those items, foodstuffs, luxuries, technology, can then be manufactured either by a player or purchased from an NPC station, and a pairing quantity might be found at a different station. So you might have a bunch of protein bars that you make from a certain type of plant resource that you discover. You could then choose to spend the time refining the protein bars into a raw commodity, and take that commodity and craft it or use it through the workshop to create a food protein bar item, and then that item might be in demand in other systems. So all the work you put in to take that 5 cents item might now make it worth 15 cents, and you could go trade in that system to the NPCs for GRP to get an additional value. Along with that, there will be rare items that might just show up once in a while, like exotic space brandy. And that exotic space brandy might be worth a lot more GRP to certain systems versus other systems. So it creates a really interesting dynamic, creates another route for players to increase their GRP wealth in the game, and there might be some tie-ins to how players trade some of these commodities, especially the ones that might not always have an immediate resale value to an NPC faction. I just wanted to clarify on this one because it was tied in to our mission system, and I wanted to discuss it as when the mission system gets its updates, you will see this coming into play, and this is in a near-term update.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, I know because there's a lot of commanders that are fans of the transport missions for personnel, so even more transport missions are going to be greatly appreciated, I think.
Many more transport missions are definitely coming. You'll see some more advanced transport missions, even for the Star Trek event, I believe, are in queue.
Let me see if we got anything in chat here.
I think we're hitting an hour, so I think we're close to wrapping up here. If there's anything in chat that you guys have questions for, anything you want to see before we call it.
We just hit an hour where we cleared all of the questions from the Discord.
It's great. You know what? Let me do one more creature here. Let me find a good one. Alright, So you guys might remember this creature as well. I think we had this in early spawn. This is basically a space ray. It is another large boss level creature. It has a pretty wicked area of effect attack. I think I'll trigger it if I get close enough here. But you can kind of see, compared to my Dread, this Dread is pretty huge. I think that's its main beam type of attack, but as I get closer, it's going to do this electrocution. Nope, still doing the beam attack. So similar to our other AIs currently in the game, the creatures are going to have more advanced AI logic. We actually improved the AI logic a little bit in this last update, and basically through the last update, you'll now notice that some NPCs will use different tactics. They might orbit you, they might come and stop at a distance. They're not all just trying to come really close into you. I'm going to go right through this one. Alright, and let me see one more I could spawn here.
I got one question for the ore scanners that we had hit on earlier. Currently with things, ore scanners like Xeno pulse scanners and the Electrum pulse scanners, once you get to the higher tech levels, like a T3, they only detect higher concentrations of the ores they're intended to. So like Electrum, you're only going to get very high concentrations like Galtronium, for example. Was that intended, or that's something they can expect to change?
Yeah, that's not intended. It should show higher concentrations easier. It should make them more apparent. It should show lower concentrations at the same rates. That's definitely an unintended one.
Oh, there's the lightning there, I think I just saw.
Right. Oh yeah, I forgot. You could still see my screen when I change the stream. Forgot about that. You get all the inside details here. Let me switch up real quick. I'm going to switch to a smaller ship because the next creatures I wanted to showcase here are much tinier. Okay. Any other questions from chat? This has been great. Thank you guys for joining me for this hour-long stream. I know we were competing. Well, we were competing earlier with the PlayStation 5 announcement, which was awesome. So definitely looking forward to that. CSC and PlayStation 5 someday, maybe. That'd be an exciting time. Let's go here. Okay, so we have. I went back to my Voyager here. Let me just spawn up a new creature. Let's do. Actually, don't know which creature this is, so it'll be a surprise for me too. So tell the creature to enter. It's coming through. Ooh, all right. So this is, I think, right now we call it our Space Bull. It's a smaller creature. It is very unique in its look. Let me see if I can target it. Just get a closer view.
It looks like a tardigrade, kind of.
We actually have a tardigrade. This is slightly different from one. But this is another exciting creature you'll see in the CSC universe. Let me see if I could do a few more. I'll do one more for today. What is... Okay. Alright, so we got one more creature coming in. Let's just take a look. Alrighty. Oh, so this is a biter. So basically this is a very tiny creature. These guys will come in swarms. So you'll see them in 15 or 20. They only have a very short range attack, and they basically overwhelm shields and overwhelm players. So these are actually really fun to see when they're swarming around a player. Actually, let's see if I can get them to swarm.
Is it fighting the bull?
No, it's trying to attack me, and it thinks it can reach. It thinks its attack range is larger. That's all it's screwing up.
And a couple reminders while we have everybody here. There is an ongoing screenshot contest, and for when everybody who submits a screenshot to the Steam page, you'll be entered into a raffle for 5 Star Trek crates. There will be 3 winners receiving 5 each. And then also we could probably, once we're done with the ships, jump over to the auction and check the auction out and talk about the way we're doing with that.
Yeah, I definitely want to wrap this up with just kind of syncing up on the Star Trek event where we're at, what's still coming up. Yeah. You know, today's 11 o'clock winner, we have not made the tweet yet, but it is Picard again. So Picard has won 2 days in a row. Tomorrow is the 3rd day, so we're looking forward to see where it is. Real quick, if you're looking at the game screen, you see an entire swarm of these guys coming at me. They have a pretty cool flocking behavior when they're attacking in sequence. It's quite fun to watch, and they can be pretty devastating when we have their damage set correctly.
Imagine being in like a Vanguard and getting attacked by all these guys.
It won't be fun, that's for sure. Alrighty. So, I had a couple more images I want to go through, so I'm going to switch over to those real quick. Let's go here. So, talk a little bit more about what we have here. This was our galaxy map. I had a great screenshot here of the space whale doing its attack. I'm actually, in this screenshot, we are in a not a destroyer, we're in a Galaxy class Enterprise, and the Enterprise is actually inside that smoke. It is so thick that it's completely engulfed the Enterprise. We had a few more pictures, some angled shots of our new dreads. Just wanted to share those. And then some of the hero shots that we've been showing for a while. But those were all the pictures I think I wanted to go through with you guys today. Thanks for tuning in. It's been an hour, so I appreciate you there. We still have over 100 people across all channels, so thank you so much for joining us today. This is great. We are looking forward to our next stream. We're going to try to do these with a little bit more cadence. It's easier for us to get you guys updates. It's great to hear back from you, show you some of the cool stuff. There are some pretty neat environmental items I want to show on our next stream. Nebula clouds and new environments and a whole new set of asteroids and both traditional ore asteroids and organic asteroids that you guys will start seeing filter in with some of the fill-out updates for our current star systems. Well, thank you so much. Ryan, anything else before we call it a day?
Nope, I think we wrapped everything up and we hit all of our questions.
Great. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you later.
Have a good one, everybody.
Fly safe, Commanders.